Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Wednesday, December 20th. If you are joining me for the very first time, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately turned out. We'll go over to RotoWire and talk about all the injuries in play for today's main slate. I believe it's a 10-game main slate overall. And then after that, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and FanDuel and talk about my core picks. It's going to be one player at each position, so point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get over to that recap of yesterday's picks. So on the DraftKings side, we had Scoot Henderson at point guard, $5,300. Did like him a little bit better if Shane Sharp was to miss. Sharp did end up playing, but he only played 8 minutes in this game. Scoot Henderson played 30 minutes, but still only got to 19 points. So unfortunately, a mess there. A really inefficient game for him overall with 5 turnovers. Then at shooting guard, we have Chris Middleton, $6,400. Was looking for 32 out of him at the very least. We got 29.75, so he's a mess. It wasn't the worst play in the world. Only played 28 minutes in this game. It was mainly scoring dependent. So, if he plays a couple extra minutes, probably gets there for us overall. So not a guy that completely killed our lineups at the same time. And then we got small forward Jaylen Brown, $7,700. Looking for 39 now. Got to 49, so he was a really good hit on yesterday's slate. And then at power forward, we had Keldon Johnson, $6,900. Looking for 35 out of him, got to 43.5, so he was a good hit as well. And then last but not least, it was Zach Collins, $4,900, got to 41 fantasy points, so that's probably, 9x. So he was a really amazing hit yesterday, although pretty much the whole field played him because it was a 4-game slate and he was a really good value overall. So a little bit hit or miss there. Obviously, Scoot Henderson was kind of the one big miss, but if he had some other decent plays, still had a chance of cashing on yesterday's slate. And then on the FanDuel side, we went with Steph Curry at $8,700, looking for at least 44 out of him. Got to 41.6, so he was a mess. He was really, really slow in this game. So I was looking at the game maybe like halfway through, and Steph Curry was only at like 20 FanDuel points. He had a really strong fourth quarter, though, so that is something that is kind of noticeable there. Mainly was point scoring dependent last night, so that kind of hurt him overall, but not really going to complain too much because he didn't miss by that much at the same time. Then in shooting guard, we had Devin Vassell, $6,500, looking for 32, 33 out of him. Only got 21.6. He was a miss. And he was another guy that was mainly scoring dependent on yesterday's slate. Then we moved down to small forward with Keldon Johnson, $7,000, looking for at least 35 out of him. Got to 38.9 on FanDuel, so he was a good hit. And then we had Zach Collins, $5,100, looking for 26 out of him, got to 39.6, also a hit there. And then last but not least, we had Al Horford, $5,400, looking for at least 27 out of him, got to 37.4, so he was a good hit as well. On FanDuel, a little bit tougher day, but, at the same time, if he had some other decent plays alongside this core 5, had a shot of cashing yesterday overall. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about all the injuries in play. So once again, it is a 10-game main slate. There is only one team on the back-to-back. That's going to be the Boston Celtics. So we won't really talk too much about them. Probably assume that Kristaps Porzingis is back tonight and Al Horford sits. But we'll get there when we get there later this afternoon. So we're going to start off with the Utah Jazz there without Jordan Clarkson, Keontae George, and Omar Yurtseven once again. So pretty much what we've seen out of them in their most recent game. John Collins did come off of the bench in that game, and he is very notably on the trade block at this point in time. Then we have the Cleveland Cavaliers without Darius Garland, Ty Jerome, Evan Mobley, and Ricky Rubio. So pretty much what we've seen out of them as of late. For the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball, Cody Martin, Frank Ntilikina all out once again. And then we have Mark Williams listed as doubtful once again due to his back injury. And Gordon Hayward listed as probable. He missed the past couple games due to an illness, but should be back for tonight's game overall. Then on the Pacers side, we have Andrew Nembhard out once again. Miles Turner did miss their most recent game due to a hamstring injury. We'll see whether or not he plays tonight or not. And then Jalen Smith, listed as questionable officially at this point in time, had been dealing with kind of a knee and a heel issue for quite some time. Then we move over to the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler's out tonight due to a calf injury. Kevin Love is questionable due to illness, so we'll see whether or not he ultimately ends up playing. Could be a little bit of value that does pop up for this Miami team overall. And then on the Orlando Magic side, Markelle Fultz is out once again, and Joe Ingles listed as questionable due to his ankle injury, but they do get Wendell Carter back tonight. We'll see if he starts or not. We'll see how many minutes he's ultimately able to play in this game as well. Then we move down to the Minnesota Timberwolves, just Jalen Clark out once again. And then on the Philadelphia 76ers side, we got Nick Batum listed as out. And then Marcus Morris and Robert Covington both listed as questionable for tonight's game due to illness. Morris did miss their most recent game. And then for the New York Knicks, they're without Mitchell Robinson once again, and Jericho Sims listed as questionable tonight due to an ankle injury. If he's unable to go, we're going to get a lot of Isaiah Hartenstein tonight overall, and probably even a little bit of Taj Gibson at that 5 spot as well. And then for the Brooklyn Nets side, Ben Simmons, Dennis Smith Jr., Lonnie Walker all out once again. And then we move down to the Denver Nuggets. Kankar's out once again. Aaron Gordon listed as probable due to his heel injury, so no real changes there. Christian Koloko remains out tonight for the Raptors, so pretty much what we've seen out of them all season. For the Los Angeles Lakers, Jalen Hood-Schifino listed as out once again. LeBron James listed as questionable due to his calf injury. Anthony Davis is questionable tonight, and it's listed as an ankle injury, which is a new injury for him, so would not be surprised if he ultimately ends up sitting out tonight. And then we have Gabe Vincent listed as probable. We've been out for pretty much forever, it seems like. He has a chance to play tonight. A pretty good chance at that. We'll see whether or not he ultimately is in the rotation or not. And then we got Jared Vanderbilt listed as probable to play due to his heel injury once again, but more than likely he'll be out there for tonight's game just in general. For the Chicago Bulls, they're without Zach LaVine and Torrey Craig. Those are the two big ones there. And then Jarrell and Batum are both listed as out tonight too. Neither one's really played for the Bulls this season. And then we have Alex Caruso and Patrick Williams both listed as probable to play for tonight's game. Then we move over to Atlanta Hawks, who are without Buffkin, Gaye, Griffin, and Johnson all once again. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic also listed as questionable tonight due to his ankle injury. He's missed a couple games now at this point in time. Then on the opposite side for the Houston Rockets, Victor Oladipo remains out. Amen Thompson and Jayshawn Tate both listed as questionable tonight due to illnesses. Jayshawn Tate did play in their most recent game, and then Amen Thompson's missed a couple games with his illness at this point in time. Then we move down to the Clippers, who are without Diabate and Plumlee once again. We got Bones Highland listed as questionable, but not really a major part of their rotation either way. And Paul George is listed as questionable tonight due to an illness. We'll see ultimately whether or not he plays or not. Obviously, if he doesn't play, it's going to be a big boost to both James Harden and Kawhi Leonard once again tonight. And then on the Dallas Mavericks side, we got Josh Green, Kyrie Irving, Maxi Kleber, and Derek Lively all out once again. So the exact same as their most recent game. Once again, the Boston Celtics are on the back-to-back, so we won't talk about them at this point in time. And then the Sacramento Kings just have Alex Len out for tonight's game. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's slate. As always, I will be listing injury updates as well as the starting lineups as the day moves along down in the comments below. So definitely be sure to check that out as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So we are going to start off once again with Kobe White at that point guard position. He's been in here a lot as of late. $8,000, still pretty reasonable price tag for him overall. Outperformed that price tag 4 out of his last 5 games. He's playing big minutes. He's getting a ton of usage. So I do like him for about 42 fantasy points tonight. Could have a little bit of upside for more as we've seen in recent games as well. And then we have shooting guard Karis LeVert, $6,200, looking for 31 fantasy points at him. He goes against the Utah Jazz tonight. It's a pretty favorable matchup. Should be a pace-up spot as well at the same time. Currently, I'm projected for 32 fantasy points. Has a little bit of upside for more. Has a little bit of downside for less at the same time. But he looks like a solid all-around play at this point in time. Then we move down to small forward Kawhi Leonard, $8,700. I don't think Paul George is going to play tonight. But even if he does, Kawhi Leonard doesn't look terrible. If you want to switch him off to someone else at that point in time, definitely could do that. But at $8,700, looking for 43, 44 fantasy points out. Currently, I'm projected for 45, 46 tonight. And then we move down to Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic, $8,000, looking for 40 fantasy points out. He's averaged about 39 so far in the season. Currently, I'm projected for 43. I like the matchup versus Miami tonight with no Jimmy Butler out there on the court. And then last but not least, we have center Isaiah Hartenstein, $5,800, looking for 29 points out, averaging just over 19 so far in the season. But a lot of those games were with Mitchell Robinson playing, so keep that in mind. No Mitchell Robinson now at this point in time. Jericho Sims might not even be able to go tonight, so could be a ton of minutes for Isaiah Hartenstein just in general. Decent matchup against the Brooklyn Nets at the same time as well. Currently have him projected for 32 fantasy points tonight. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you'll have $13,300 remaining, just over $4,400 per player. So not a ton of value out there on this slate at this point in time. Hopefully that does change throughout the day because we're going to need it if we go with this core 5. Otherwise, we're just going to need it to get to some other players in general. So hopefully we get some news throughout the day that opens up a little bit of stuff. But at least early on, the pricing looks a little tight. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So we're going to start off at the point guard position with Jalen Brunson, $8,500. You could go to Kobe White here too as well if you really wanted to at $8,300. Both are playing really well as of late. Jalen Brunson, we're looking for 42, 43 out of him. Currently, I'm projected for 44, 45 tonight. So definitely looks like a guy that could be very interesting at that point guard spot just in general. Then we move down to shooting guard Gary Trent, coming off a really big performance in his most recent game. Not super crazy about the matchup. There's not a lot of good pay down options out there, at least early on today. So I do like getting into Gary Trent here. You're looking for 20 points out. I'm at $4,000. Currently, I'm projected for 21, 22. Has a little bit upside for more. Has some downside for less at the same time as well. Then at small forward, we went with Max Strus, $5,900. Looking for 29, 30 fantasy points out. I'm projected for 31 tonight. It's a good pace up spot versus Utah just in general. Obviously, with all the guys they're missing, he does have solidified big minutes at this point in time as well. And then we move down to power forward, Paolo Banchero, $8,100. Looking for 40 fantasy points out. Goes against Miami tonight. Typically not the greatest matchup in the world, but there is no Jimmy Butler. There might not even be Kevin Love tonight. So it definitely looks like a pretty favorable matchup for him just in general. Definitely do like him. Currently have him projected for 43 FanDuel points tonight. And then last but not least, we have Isaiah Hartenstein once again, $6,400. Looking for 32 fantasy points out. Currently have him projected for 32. Has a little bit upside for more, especially if Jericho Sims does ultimately end up missing for tonight's game overall. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players on FanDuel tonight, you have $27,100 remaining, just under $6,800 per player. So if you really want to pay up for somebody, you could probably still do it, and then you'd have to pay down at a ton of other spots. But if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach on tonight's, say, at least makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, at least early on in the day where we don't have a ton of value. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, December 20th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to note whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, I'll be listing all the injury updates as they do come out throughout the day, as well as posting the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. And then I will also have my updated core about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock listed as a pinned comment. If there's no changes at that point in time, I'll just leave there's no changes to the core at this point in time. There's other additional changes that do happen after lock. I will leave them as a reply to the pinned comment just in general. But with that being said, if you are joining me for the very first time or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have NBA DFS Monday through Friday in terms of the NBA DFS Core Pick videos. And then on Saturdays, I do release my NFL DFS Player Pool video, so definitely be sure to check that out, as well as my NFL DFS cheat sheets up on the Sports Affiliation website for both FanDuel and DraftKings. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Prize Picks, and Parlay Play. If you are a brand new user to any one of those 3 sites, you will get a first match deposit bonus. So definitely be sure to check that out. A lot of great opportunities out there. If you have any other additional questions related to sports betting, prop betting, just in general, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning into this video. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.